Hello and welcome to Stupid Ancient History with Midgley
and Taylor and our expert, non-expert, special guest James, Lord High Commander of the Science Cupboard, first of his name and knower of nothing.
Hello.
As always, we're wearing togas, and today we're going to look at the rise of the Etruscan Kings. Previously on Stupid Ancient History, we've been looking at the early Roman or mythical kings.
So Romulus, not Remus, Numa, Pompilius and Tullus Hostilius.
Wasn't there another one?
Oh yeah, and Ancus Marcius actually, but he wasn't really that funny, was he? He was a bit dull.
He's Mr. Beige.
Yeah, and anyway, so we looked at how their collective rule had started shaping Rome into what was destined to become one of the grandest cities in the ancient world.
Not forgetting the numerous wars that they fought with surrounding communities as well.
Yeah, but they only went to war because he nicked everyone's women.
Yeah, all right, they did have that issue, and they solved that issue of how to continue the next generation.
Did it involve wolf prostitutes?
I don't think that would have worked. I mean, and that's even more frightening.
Hey,
considering that you know, your job is based on science.
I'm not.
I thought you were going to say his job was based on wolf prostitutes.
I was really concerned where that was going.
I mean, is that even a job? That is an interesting profession.
You know what?
Yeah, let's move on.
I don't really know how to respond to that.
Anyway, early mythical kings of Rome. So, the story of the Etruscan kings actually starts during the reign of Ancus Marcius, away from Rome though, and in the Etruscan town of Tarquini.
Which was called Cornetto for a few hundred years.
Oh,
Fun
tasty.
fact.
Does that have any actual relation to the ice cream? Is it just a fun
from
name?
Italy.
Is it just a fun name they've
Yeah.
chosen?
Are you not
Why
going to
not?
do your best Cornetto
No, please
impression?
I'm not. No, I'll spare everyone that. Can I ask what is an Etruscan?
Good question.
Yeah,
You've not
so-
explained that bit to me.
So there's going to be a map on the PowerPoint, but basically the Etruscans were a tribe of people who occupied the area north of Rome.
So at this point, they're not actually Roman.
No.
No.
Okay.
So they weren't hugely different to the Latins, although they were originally from Greece. And Romans, they were often seen as a threat to these kind of other tribes, largely because of their size.
And because the next king of Rome ultimately comes from these Etruscan lands, he and the rest of the other kings after him are known as the Etruscan kings.
Okay.
But also, because he comes from the Etruscan town of Tarquini, they can also be called the Tarquin Kings as well.
And they can also be called the later Roman kings.
Right, I'm really glad you cleared that up for me. That wasn't convoluted and weird at all.
Tarquin
like-
kings, Etruscan kings, later kings,
Like Prince, you know, numerous names.
and no name.
No name.
Which kings are known just by a little squiggle?
The Etruscan kings.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, the story starts in the Etruscan town of Tarquini.
Is that Cornetto?
Yeah, why not?
The Cornetto.
Anyway, so our story starts in the Etruscan town of Tarquini with a young man called Lucomo.
Although he is pretty wealthy, he's the son of a Greek exile, which means no matter how much cash he has, he can never kind of reach the top levels of Etruscan society. So he's got the cash, but he's always going to be looked down on as being a bit, you know, lower class.
I thought you said the Etruscans were from Greece, though.
Yeah, but they didn't want reminding of that.
Right, okay, so that's where they're from, but they just don't.
Yeah, they don't talk about that.
So how far do you have not to have been from? How many generations do you have to have lived in Greece before it's okay?
I'd say a few.
Okay.
Nice and specific.
Not more than he has.
Yeah, more than he has.
Okay.
So anyway, Lucomo clearly has his eye on something a bit more flashy than just being rich, because, you know, it's just boring being just rich.
And ultimately, more importantly, so does his wife.
What, she wants more than being just
She
rich?
wants more.
Yeah.
What's she after then?
Well, much more. So Lucomo, he married a woman called Tanaquil. Now she
Wait,
is
sorry, this is going to confuse me. What's the town called?
Tarquini.
And what's his wife called?
Tanaquil.
I'm not going to enjoy this, but okay.
It's all good. So anyway, he marries Tanaquil from Tarquini. Now she is from one of these most important families in the town of
Cornetto.
Tarquini. And she clearly isn't happy with having this marriage beneath her standing.
Okay.
She's not too keen on marrying the
So-
lower classes.
But to be fair, if he was lower class, then this can't have been something that her family pushed her into. So you would think that if he's lower class, then she must have chosen him. So why has she got beef with the fact that she's chosen someone that's a bit more rough and ready?
Clearly, she's a snob.
We all make mistakes.
Yeah.
I'll marry him. Oh no, I'm married to him.
Do you think he just kind of hid his roots and then she found out
So-
later?
No, I think she pretty much knew.
So do we know how? You said she wasn't keen on the fact that she's being married to what? He had an amazing name. What was his name? Lucomo.
Lucomo.
Love that. So the Tarquini people, do we know how they chose spouses? Because obviously in Rome they pick up whoever's nearby.
Grab the nearest thing.
Yeah.
Sadly, no.
Okay.
So
But regardless of how they decided it, she's unhappy.
she's unhappy.
Okay.
She's clearly gone for the badass, hasn't she? And then had second thoughts later on.
Well,
She wanted a bit of rough, and then she's thinking, actually, maybe you should have stuck with a rich one over there that was a bit boring, but means I can have more diamonds.
Yeah, that's exactly what she was thinking.
She's not sounding like an easy woman to live with. Is this going to be a bit of an Atossa situation
I think
again?
that's harsh. I just think that she's got ambition.
She can be seen as, shall we say, a bit pushy, but also a little bit conflicted.
Okay.
Yeah, so Livy tells us that she cannot bear the shame of a lower marriage. I just think she shouldn't have married him then, should she? You know. But despite this innate love that she has for her husband, Lucomo, she obviously feels like she needs to do something about it.
So she wants better, but she is in love with him.
Yeah.
Okay.
She loves him, but she just wishes he wasn't so goddamn peasanty.
I
Yeah.
think that that's perfectly normal.
He was a fixer-upper.
I think you can marry someone and then think, they
So-
might have been better.
Sorry, I can't quite get what you mean by the inflection of but.
Moving on.
What
Taylor's
is
marriage
it, but
choices
yeah.
aside.
I don't miss the Taylors. I'm going to have to phone him.
Oh man. So anyway, despite this conflict, Tanaquil has a brilliant idea.
How brilliant.
It's cracking. So the pair can't rise up through the social ranks in Tarquini, but they certainly could somewhere else.
Perhaps in some rough end of Italy where, founded by criminals and they just pick up any woman they want.
Yeah, so that is quite handy, isn't it? That you've got this area that you could just go to and kind of make it your own, and it's like Rome. That's the place.
So
for
are
me.
they basically hoping to gentrify Rome?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, maybe it's like a new start. You know, when people disappear to like Las Vegas or something. New start. So Rome indeed does seem to suit Tanaquil's ambitions quite nicely, and Livy explains it like this. So he says, Rome seemed particularly suited for her purpose. In this state, lately founded, where all nobility is recent and the result of merit, there would be room for her husband, a man of courage and activity. Tatius, a Sabine, had been king of Rome, and Numa had been sent for them from Cures to reign there. Ancus was sprung from a Sabine mother, and rested his nobility on the single statue of Numa.
I mean, she's got a fair point. Rome has a history of accepting non-Roman kings and foreigners.
But is it going to go on to him though? Is this what she wants?
Well, it's this kind of classically pushy woman in ancient literature.
Right. Okay.
It's driven very much that she thinks this is a good idea,
and he's just going along with it.
He does what he's told.
Right. Okay.
Basically, the man's lazy, and she's the one that's actually
Well,
got any kind
Libby
of...
just said he had ambition and courage.
Energy.
Yeah. So, happy wife, happy
Well,
life
he needs
is.
guidance, clearly, doesn't he? It's like push him in the right direction.
Yeah, it's that way. Rome's that way. Off you go, son.
I've not even met this woman. She's sounding like a lot of work. So they just pack the bags and set off to Rome.
Yep, absolutely. They pack up all the stuff, all the belongings.
Yeah, and also she had loads of cash.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be rude not to.
Did he have that? Was money like material then? Was it put all
Yeah,
your
no,
stuff
they
in?
will have had coinage and so on.
Okay.
So anyway, they pack everything up in a chariot and set off on the long journey to Rome. Road trip.
I thought it was just up the road.
It's a long journey.
Okay.
It's a slow horse. It's
Okay.
tired. It's only got 3 legs. So anyway, on the journey, they stop for a rest before actually entering the ever-growing city of Rome, when a somewhat unusual event takes place.
This could be anything.
Livy says, an eagle suspended on her wings, gently stooping, took off his cap and flying around the chariot with loud screams, as if she had been sent from heaven for the very purpose, Audley replaced it on his head.
Nonsense.
It has deeper meaning, James.
What don't you believe?
An eagle took his hat off, flew around a bit, and put it back.
Put it back. I was like, oh, sorry, mate. Didn't mean to steal that.
Are there any of these like omens that aren't bird related?
Not really, no.
We had vultures and all sorts.
More
and
vultures,
yeah.
eagles. But yeah, they like a good bird omen. So anyway, Tanaquil, as well as being a bit pushy, it seems, is pretty handy with the whole interpreting of omens.
She's just really good at PR, isn't she? She's like a marketing genius, this woman.
Yeah.
So it does obviously tend to be a woman in the ancient world who kind of, does this best.
Yeah.
What? Interpreting
omens.
Interpreting omens.
Yeah,
Right,
so you've got
like in Greece, the Oracle of Delphi.
The Oracle at Delphi is
Yeah,
a
but in
woman.
Rome you have like the Vestal Virgins, so
Right, okay.
looking at omens and things is very much a woman's bag.
Okay.
And anyway, according to Livy as well, Etruscan women are particularly good at this, better than most women at determining omens.
How did they decide that?
They saw an omen and told everyone.
So go on, what does the bird nicking his hat and flying around mean?
It obviously means that he's going to be the next king of Rome.
Obviously.
I can't believe that you didn't get that from that, James.
I mean, if it took his hat off and replaced it with a crown, fair enough.
Well,
But
where's an eagle going to get a crown
Pulled
from?
one from us
where's an
under
eagle
his
going to come down
wing.
and take your hat?
Oh, sorry, hang on, mate. I've just got this under my wing. I'll just put this on your head instead.
Makes it
Not
about
from
as
East
much.
Manchester. Yeah, you wouldn't get your hat back in East
Makes
Manchester.
about as much sense as the rest of it.
Yeah, I'll take that.
So, anyway, I can't deal with this anymore. Bloody birds.
So off they trot to Rome to set about making Lucomo the next king.
And one of the first things they do is they ditch the name Lucomo.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just not flashy enough, James. It's not got that kingly ring to it.
I mean, it's a pretty cool name. So, if they ditch the Como, what do they go with?
Tarquinius Priscus.
I'm really unimpressed with that.
It sounds a bit more Roman.
It's not Metius Fefetius.
It's not Metius Fefetius, but that name wasn't
Yeah, you wouldn't
overly
choose that, would
popular.
you?
Look, if he came out as Metius Fefetius II, I'd be all up for this. But
No.
Lucomo was a good name.
So anyway, with the family's fortunes and then fancy new name, they buy a big fancy house in Rome and they set about making themselves well known and established in the city.
So, given the fact that they've just bought this fancy house and they've got tons of cash, clearly people soon start to take notice, which is not a shock, is it?
Yeah.
So there were spare big houses available in Rome, or did they build one?
Apparently it was just there, waiting for them.
So who was it who got their village torn down?
The Albans.
The Albans. They had no houses for them. There was suddenly this massive homeless problem, but they had villas or manors or whatever available.
Yeah, just like
just
Britain.
yeah, just them lying about.
So anyway, they set about making themselves known, and just to make sure nothing is left to chance, Priscus and Tanaquil go about wining and dining as many of the wealthy patricians as they can.
So he's giving a party king.
Pretty much, yeah, absolutely. he's the Gatsby of ancient Rome. He knows who's going to be important. He knows who are the top echelons of their society. And he goes about wooing them, schmoozing them. So everyone gets to know him. Everyone knows his parties, and everyone wants to go to his parties.
Yeah, so the term that the examples like to use is largesse.
Largesse.
Largesse, sorry.
Yeah.
What, is that what that means?
It's
Just-
being generous, like giving gifts.
Okay.
Be a bit of a kiss ass. I
Greasing
think
the
is
wheels.
word, yeah.
Right. Okay.
They are very good at PR.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So the fact that we have a word for it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume they don't just crown the guy who throws the best parties as king. He has to do something else.
Yeah, no, it's not quite that easy. You
It's
can't
just-
party your way to be
He's just like, what's his name now? Tarquinius? What?
Tarquinius.
Tarquinius. What a lad making king.
Well, not quite. There's a bit more to it than that. So Tarquinius Priscus' parties and generosity, they've become so well known that even the king wants to turn up. He wants in on these parties.
So who is king at this point? It's the boring one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Ancus Marcius.
That's his name.
Yeah. So anyway, Tarquinius Priscus duly invites the king to all of his parties.
Yeah, well, you would though, wouldn't you? Special guest appearance by the king. It's like the biggest guest that you can have at your party. It's going to top trump everybody else's party. That's
Oh yeah, no,
planning on holding
he is the ultimate A-lister. Isn't
So I'm going to guess
Yeah.
we'll come on to this, but if none of the other kings so far have been hereditary, I know one of them was the other one's grandson.
Yeah.
This is no kind of dynastic.
he? No.
It's just the. I'll pick you as king.
Do you not remember the interregnum?
I do. I try really hard to forget because they never worked.
No.
But
No, it's
there's-
not dynastic. It's not hereditary.
It's just.
Priscus is getting his foot in the door,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
So this could. Well, we're talking about it, so I guess it does. But this could work. This isn't a
Yeah.
stupid plan.
In this sense, yeah, it could work.
Okay.
Don't
Yeah.
think it'll necessarily get you into any modern government position.
Would you want to be in any
No.
modern
No.
government position and be lumped
No.
in with that lot? I don't think many people would. So anyway, the two become quite close. Certainly close enough that Ancus Marcius entrusts Tarquinius Priscus with his will and kind of sorting out the arrangements after he dies.
That-
What is going to happen.
These must have been some pretty good
Yeah,
parties.
it's a big step up, isn't it? He's done quite well.
Yeah. So we just threw. Do we know at this point how long they've been in Rome for?
No, we don't know.
It's just a span of time.
Yeah,
'Cause
over a period of time, he's thrown enough parties that the king
entrust him with his will. Is this actually entrusting him, or is this like a drunken? I will have to meet up next week. Like,
No, yeah.
you'll have to look after my will.
Yeah, I always said.
I mean,
No,
I've probably promised weirder stuff than that.
maybe his wife's been up to
Maybe.
good as well. Maybe she's been doing more than greasing the wheels at some of these parties.
Oh my god.
Let's move on. But no, he actually does entrust him with his actual will.
Right,
it is an
okay.
actual thing.
So anyway, at the age of 60, after 24 years in power, Ancus Marcius died.
Oh no. He was so fun. How did he die?
Natural causes, apparently.
He doesn't even have an interesting death. This guy is rubbish.
But anyway, regardless of how exciting or not his passing
Not.
was.
Absolutely not.
So anyway, Ancus the king, dead.
Yeah, but he did have two sons who seemed to have the idea, I don't know why, that one of them would become the next king of Rome.
This is nonsense. We need an interregnum.
I think
Let's
it's
just-
quite logical, isn't it? Your dad is king, he dies, you would kind of be thinking that you were going to be...
Are there,
Even
are
though
there,
it's never been done before in Rome.
not just in Rome? Are the presumably there are hereditary monarchies
There are hereditary
elsewhere?
monarchies elsewhere, yeah.
This isn't a new idea.
No,
Just not one they've ever done.
no, not one they've done before. And it's interesting at this point, Livy does seem to hint at the idea that Rome's moving to a more hereditary monarchy kind of idea. So this is probably where they get this idea from. Or
Okay.
he's probably just promised them, eat your dinner and you can become the next king. Just stop doing my head in. So anyway, back to the story. These two sons of Ancus have the idea that one of them is going to be the next king.
But there is a problem. According to Livy, neither of them are actually old enough to claim the throne.
Yeah, there is that.
Yeah,
How
bit of a
old
problem.
do we know how old you had to be?
You have to be of age.
Okay.
You're
Non-
expecting
non-
specifics from Livy.
I'm expecting. Well, yeah.
He can give you specifics about bird omens, actual things.
Not
no.
numbers of years old you need to be king.
No, but ask him about how many birds there were. He's on it like nobody's business.
So I've got a bit of an idea where this is going, but I'm not 100%. So go on. He's got these two sons who aren't old enough
But want to be king. So
to
anyway,
want to be king,
uh,
and some young upstart who's in charge of his will.
yeah. So because the sons aren't quite old enough yet, Livy says that Tarquinius Priscus convinces them to go on a hunting trip.
This is going to go well.
Well, yeah. The point is, it will take them out of the city for at least a few days, if not a few weeks, depending on how into the hunting they get.
Yeah.
And he assures them that there is nothing to worry about. Everyone will be too busy mourning their dad whilst they have some quality time together. That sounds weird.
That sounds suspicious. Is the word I would say.
I don't know what you mean. He's trying to be really nice and caring.
Yeah.
Or at least he would be if, as soon as the sons hadn't left the city, Tarquinius Priscus calls for the selection of a new king and puts his own name forward.
What a tool. So does no one speak up and say, this is a bit odd, you're doing this while you just sent those two lads away?
Apparently not.
Right,
You know,
okay.
everyone's fine with him selling him down the road. I mean, so successful was his courting and schmoozing of the Roman aristocracy. They back it. They're thinking,
Are some of them just thinking, like, think of the parties he threw when he was just some bloke? Imagine the parties he's going to throw when he's king.
Yeah, well, this is it, isn't it? You would just be like, yeah, let's get him in. You know, I don't know what you could top it with, but maybe he'll take us all on holiday.
Yeah.
to where?
We're gonna go to Bender.
Do you remember Alba Longa, that city we burnt down? Hey. Yeah, so Tarquinius Priscus is then duly crowned as the next king of Rome, the first of the Tarquin Kings.
Oh, the Etruscan kings, Dave, depending on which one you're going for.
Yeah, or the later Roman kings.
Okay, so I can. That's all tied together. What happened to the two sons of Boring?
Two sons of boring.
Well, they come back to Rome and they find Priscus on the throne. They're
Okay.
not very happy, and they're quite miffed about this, but they're smart enough not to kick off about it. So the king is, of course, protected by his lictors.
What?
The bodyguards.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not people that just lick him, James.
Okay. I didn't suggest they were, but okay.
So anyway, they then just disappear off into the countryside to plot their revenge.
Dun, dun, dun.
But both of them, they're not. Are they just happy one of them becomes king? They're not like, oh, I'll become king. No.
Doesn't matter, they just want this guy off the throne.
Okay.
Get
So
rid
they
of
have
the
to-
usurper.
Plot their revenge.
Okie dokie.
So obviously the big issue that we get with the Tarquin King, with Tarquinius Priscus, is that it's this entirely new dynasty. It's a distinct shift in the way Rome is ruled. So we get this kind of influence of the Etruscans, shows that it's the further widening of Rome's influence. And it's a very clear distinction from the early mythical kings to this new batch,
Yeah.
this new lot coming in. So there's a lot of things that change, not only just in their kind of traditional background to this. We get a change in how the kings are thought to be chosen, so we get a change in the transition. And a load of motorbikes outside for some reason.
Hells
That's
Angels.
the Tarquin Kings coming to sort us out. So I mean, one thing you can point out is that with Tarquinius Priscus coming along, this idea of hereditary rule becoming more common. It's almost like the death of the interregnum.
Right. Okay.
That-
Good.
It worked for a while, but
It
now
didn't work for a while.
But can't you say as well, if you move like later when you move to the emperors, then for a lot of them, their key thing is about trying to create a dynasty, isn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe Livy is using this, saying kind of like, oh look, it started and now this is how Rome is ruled, because the Julio-Claudians do it, then the Flavians do it, so this becomes the way that...
And very similarly,
Power's
all
passed down.
power is kind of concentrated within a few key families.
Yeah, definitely.
So we saw that already with Numa and then Ancus Marcius and Hostius Hostilius and Tullus Hostilius. So this is almost like the shift in dynasty to these Etruscan kings. What else is quite important, though, is that the way Tarquinius Priscus comes to power. So we start to see this kind of
Whining and dining.
Whining and dining. There's a hint of corruption. It's not exactly legit, and you know, it's not.
It's kind of
all
less
country.
noble because even though it's horrific, if you win like a crown through war,
Yeah,
there's a
There's dead people.
there's a perceived like
But to the,
Yeah,
to
heroism.
The
Heroism to
Romans,
that, yeah.
to the Romans, that is seen as being heroic. That is a
Yeah.
characteristic that they quite value, isn't it?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really.
taking power by force, military force, that's a good thing.
This is a bit sneaky, a
Yeah.
bit underhand. I mean, he's not murdered anyone. He's not.
they probably prefer it if he had.
He's not kicked anyone's nan down the stairs or anything. But he's come to power through a bit of an underhand way.
Yeah.
There's the hints of corruption all throughout it, and this is where we start to see kind of the early hints of the Romans turning against the idea of kings.
Right, okay.
So you're a bit like a Rupert Murdoch of the Roman kings, just like whining and dining everyone,
'Cause-
using them, trying to get his way around them all.
Yeah, but we.
Sorry, I have been waiting for this because when we spoke about Caesar
Yeah.
and his kind of rise to power, you said quite often that the Senate were terrified he was going to become a king.
Like a king or
Like
a tyrant.
they hated this notion of kings. So
Yes.
I've been waiting to see how bad this lot gets.
Well, this is partly why. I mean, the word rex in Latin means king, and that was a bad word to use.
Right, okay.
Because so bad is the reputation of the later Tarquin kings, particularly. Not necessarily this one. He's kind of mild and he's mild-mannered and inconsequential compared to what comes later. But he's the root of the bad reputation.
Of what
kings
comes.
have. Yeah, he's the root of what comes. It's all his fault. And it's the later Roman kings where it really starts to go wrong.
Right, okay.
I think as well, the others, they've kind of, I don't know, like with Numa, other people want them to become rulers, don't they?
Yeah,
That's
he's the
thing that-
first
yeah,
one with
he's-
ambition to
yeah.
become.
He's the one that's taking it for
He
himself.
set his sights on it and he...
But he's
Yeah.
also being pushed forward by his wife, and the women, like Romans don't like powerful, strong women. So that's
Beyonce.
another reason why.
Does that... is she kind of vilified through history or...
She falls nicely into that category. Roman women in the ancient world either fit into the category of lovely, nice, wonderful mothers, wives.
Sit home by the fire doing your spinning, waiting for your man to come home, keeping your mouth shut, looking pretty.
And then you've got the more kind of...
Rattled that off pretty easily, didn't you?
That's what she tells Barry to do every night. But then on the other side, you've got the driven, ambitious women who are seen as interfering.
I was wondering, because all this ties back to Augustus, and then Octavian, then Augustus.
Yeah.
I know he had a very
driven and powerful
wife who he then had a massive fallout with. Is this kind of vilifying her after the fact?
Probably not. It's more likely to be showing Tarquinius Priscus as a bit of a wet lace.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
He's a bit weak. He's driven by his wife.
He's whipped.
But throws a good party.
Do we know if she was happy with him becoming king of Rome? Was that good enough?
She wasn't sad.
Okay.
I mean, where's he going to go from that? God. Is that
Well, I don't know.
That's what
But
she's
I mean,
ultimately aiming
just
for.
being rich wasn't good enough for her. Oh, you're king, yeah, but it's of Rome.
She knows what Melania wants for Trump. She's like, you were a really good businessman, now you're the president. Next, I want you to be like Jesus.
I think realistically, she just wants her freedom.
she just wants him nowhere near her.
So anyway, the big change is this new dynasty, and it all goes wonky from there on in. So there you have it, our quick introduction and overview of the rise of Tarquinius Priscus to become the first Tarquin King. Thank you for listening. We hope this has been helpful. Leave us a comment below, and until next time, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.